Um, you know, there are nights where I enjoy being a hockey fan, and there are nights where I don't. And um, I put on this Blues jersey and had about halfway through the second period because I was disgusted. Um, and that doesn't change. It doesn't change during the game, during the overtime. But my God, did Dallas ever blow it tonight? Now, I'm not trying to take away from St. Louis. So I want to say that right off the start. St. Louis, faster to the pucks, better defensive coverage. Holy crap, was Dallas awful for large portions of this game. And I think these are the habits they got into in game five, and they never got out of them. They didn't get out of them in game six, and they certainly didn't get out of them in game seven. Till overtime when it's a coin flip. And the right team won tonight. I'm not gonna make any arguments on any level that the team that won shouldn't have, because that would be BS from me, and I owe you guys better than that. And that, right away I'm like, early Blues chances, no shots though early. That didn't last, and I noticed that I didn't have the NBC feed, so I don't have to listen to the American feed anymore in hockey games. It'll all be Sportsnet, and while people can argue about which is better, for me, I much prefer the Sportsnet announcers. I don't have moments during the game where I get upset, although I thought Gary Galley was pulling for the Blues this whole game. There were certain plays where he was like, I don't understand what happened there, and I'm like, I do. Can't you see what? Okay. And I put first goal looks key. Little did I know. Desperate scramble in Dallas's zone, and I would have to get used to that. Foxa then had a breakaway, great save by Bennington. These are all the early plays that make a difference later. The shots were 8-4 Dallas at the halfway mark of the first period. They would get to, let's see, 5, 6. They'd get 9 shots the rest of regulation. 9 shots in 50 minutes of hockey. 9. All right. Dunn scores from Pietrangelo and Thomas, and the Blues gained momentum off of that goal. That being said, and I know people are going to point out a couple of things here, Bennington didn't have a stick. It was his own defenseman that ultimately knocked it out of his hands. That's why they didn't try to challenge it. Puck goes off the ref. Zuccarello says thanks, and Zuccarello plunks it in the back of the net. So there you go. I guess on the upside, Dallas doesn't give up a first rounder out of the Rangers this year. Right? That's a bonus, right? Anyways. Second period. Got to stay with the second period. Okay, so it's 1-1 after 1. Wide open start to the second. Wide open for one team. And then I put refs letting everything go. Like, is this how it's going to work? And then the shots were 4-0 St. Louis at 6:37 of the second, which I thought was interesting enough to make that note. Then there's a penalty to Dallas. It was Ritchie for tripping at 7:17. Why was Ritchie in the lineup? I'm not a huge fan of, I mean, it's not Nichushkin, but anyways. I heard his name and I'm like, oh, Ritchie's in there? Seriously? And then there was a big miss by Ben and Sagan. And honestly, we are going to remember this game as Dallas missing a chance to have complete and total theft of a series from the St. Louis Blues. There was another bad Dallas penalty, Klingberg trip in the Blues zone. So down in the offensive end, you got to be smarter with your stick than that. But Dallas kills it off. And here's the thing. Dallas looked better shorthanded than they did 5-on-5. That note's on the board. Bishop's the only reason the Blues weren't way ahead. This game would have been 4-1 if Hudobin's in net. And I don't say that as an insult to Hudobin. I say it because Bishop's fantastic in Game 7s, even though Dallas blew it tonight. They were outshot 18-1 in the second period. So if anybody thinks, wow, Shannon must be yelling at his TV, I was just shaking my head and just wanting to kick stuff. I was just beside myself with how poorly Dallas was playing in a Game 7. And I'm going to say right now, the player who had me angriest tonight was Jamie Benn. Jamie Benn, who I've said all year, I have wanted to see some big effort in a big game, and this was it, Mr. Ben, and I didn't see it. Third period, Blues were aggressive right out of the gate, and the shots at that point were 30-15 because 18-1 in the second. Do I need to say it again? 18-1. One shot. The Stars iced it. Lots of Blues pressure. All Blues for the first 5 minutes of the period, and I'm kind of thinking, all right, so St. Louis is definitely going to score. I already had the Blues jersey on at that point. The whole jinxing thing isn't a thing. The Stars had 2 shots in the second and 1 in the first half. Or no, 2 shots in the second and the first half of the third. So they had, at the 10-minute mark, 1 shot in the third period to go with that 1 shot in the second. And I, at this point, livid, and I'm saying Dallas does not deserve to win this game. There is no way in Hades that this team deserved to win this game. As a Stars fan, because I'm so ticked off, St. Louis's first every puck, every time Colton Parayko went near a Dallas Star, they flew like they were just nothing. And it's like, I know Parayko's a big boy, right? And there's a lot of big defensemen for St. Louis. But man, this was a game where Dallas had to toughen up, and they kept bouncing off those defensemen, especially Colton Parayko. The Blues really deserved this game. Shots were 35-15 with 8 minutes left in the game. 37-16 with 5 minutes left, and 41-16 with 2 minutes left. And I put, seriously, you'll notice I put UGG beside 37-16 because Ben Bishop's standing on his head. And what you want to see from your team when their goaltender's standing on his head is that team going, hey, he's given us a chance. And I didn't see that in the second, and I didn't see it in the third. And then Hintz with a breakaway with 1 minute left and bungles it. Because that's what Dallas did tonight. So we go to overtime. And overtime in Game 7. And this is the third Game 7 in these playoffs that have needed an overtime. That's a new NHL record. Blues had the early chance. Surprise, surprise. However, Dallas started to play a little better, but feels like a penalty kill since the first. Dallas hemmed in their own zone. Every time they passed it out, there was a Blues defenseman there to block the outlet pass. Every time the Blues went to pass it out, there wasn't a white jersey to be found. It felt to me like every time they got it into the other end, they gave them half the rink, and every time they were hemmed in their own end, St. Louis gave them nothing. Now, the shot blocks by Dallas were in the 30-plus range, which makes it even more egregious that they're allowing as many shots as they are. Their defense is playing well, but they're in their own zone too much. You can't do this. You just can't. Game 7. Actual shots by Dallas, I put up here with a question mark. There's still 44-19 for the game, but it felt like Dallas was finally getting some shots. Great chance for Dallas around 4 minutes and 30 seconds in. And then I put, sometimes I hate hockey. Just saying. Because, yeah, this was making me angry. Because I thought, they're going to blow some chances here, and then there's going to be a goal, and I'm not going to be happy. Shots are 48-22, and then they're 50-22. The Stars' passing was atrocious. And it was. Now, there's 2 things with that. 1, poor pass decisions by St. Louis, and 2, great anticipation by the St. Louis Blues to be in every single lane possible. The Blues pass intercepts are excellent, I put up there. That's what I'm talking about. And again, the Stars made to look like they're penalty killing around a little bit later in that period. They did get the puck out. They did play relatively well at points in the overtime, but there were still moments where they were caught running around in their own zone. And my God, every time Jamie Benn skated past a puck carrier, it's like, I'm not sure where you're going, Jamie, but the puck's back there. And the guy with the puck is back there. So, the Stars, I felt, were too slow to every puck. And they iced it again. And this was a theme. That if the puck's in the corner and somebody's going to get it, it's going to be the Blues. It's going to be the Blues a lot. And then there was a Binnington scare with 6:15 left. So he gets run over. It wasn't an intentional, wasn't a penalty or anything. But Binnington gets run. Binnington hit the bar pretty hard, the post. Sorry, the post. I don't want to say bar because some people go crossbar. So he hits the post pretty hard. But he shook it off. The trainer comes out. He says, I'm fine. And he was. And then I put up here, post by Dallas, Cogliano blew it. Andrew Cogliano with the entire net wide open. He channels his inner Nathan Lafayette and misses the net. At least Lafayette hit the crossbar. I'm going back to 1994 with that. Interesting note, Nathan Lafayette was picked up from the St. Louis Blues by the Vancouver Canucks for that 1994 run. And then he hit the crossbar in Game 7, where Vancouver could have tied it, forced overtime. And if Vancouver had forced overtime against the Rangers in 94, Vancouver had pretty good confidence in themselves that they might have been able to get that Stanley Cup for themselves. But I digress. Let's talk about this team letting me down. So it's going into double overtime, and at this point I'm like, I'm running out of space on the board. Are we going to be done soon? Because this is getting kind of late. People on the East Coast are going to be like, I'm going to bed. I don't care. Shannon's the only one that really gives a damn about this. We really don't care. And then the double overtime, it felt like the Blues were kind of on their heels. They iced it at 7 seconds. They iced it at 1:58. They iced it at 2:53. Does Dallas take advantage? No. Absolutely not. Now, Jim Montgomery had a smart move that he made that didn't pay off. He put Radulov back with Benn and Seguin. Radulov kept falling over. Benn was overskating pucks, and Seguin passed when he should have shot. It was fantastic. Parayko almost had an own goal. So Parayko gave every Blues fan out there basically cardiac arrest by taking a puck and trying to throw it behind the net. It goes off Benn's stick, and it almost... If Binnington's not paying attention, if he's anticipating going to the other end, and then there's a play where the puck comes around from behind the net, and because it hits Binnington at the top of the pad instead of lower in the pad because his foot's in the net, if they put it lower in the pad, it would have been a goal, and Dallas would have won the game, but they didn't win the game because they hit the part of the pad that was in front of the line, so it wasn't a goal. And the Blues ice it again at 4:46, and I'm like, okay, if they keep icing it, if the Stars can get an advantage on the matchups, doesn't matter. At 5:50 of double overtime, it is Pat Maroon that ends it. Thomas and Bozak with the assists on it. And this is the thing. This is where, I have this channel. I'm talking to you fine people. Believe me. If I didn't have a channel, I wouldn't be talking about this game. I would have just been like, all right, I'm going to bed. At which point, on the West Coast, it's 9 at night, and somebody would have said, it's 9 at night, what are you doing? It would have been, I know the time. Bishop saved 52 out of 54. He played godlike tonight. Bennington saved 29 out of 30. He was fantastic. The St. Louis Blues outshot Dallas 11-10 in the first overtime. I'm pretty sure St. Louis was credited with 2 shots in the second overtime. So the shots were 3-2 for Dallas. Dallas actually had control of a lot of that first 5 minutes. They just couldn't score. And they couldn't win races for pucks. And they couldn't take advantage of their chances. They couldn't hit an empty net. Second passes, not a thing. I thought Zuccarello was probably the best guy in the ice. Hintz had a pretty good game. Oddly enough, Como and Cogliano, I thought, had decent games. But they don't score goals. We needed Benn. We needed Seguin. We needed... So somewhere Jim Lights is throwing things and saying I said they were bums. I'm saying that because this is a PG-rated channel, and I know what he called them, and I'm not saying it. Overall, congratulations to the Blues. I thought this was a very well-played game by them. Fantastic defensive effort. Faster to the pucks. Definitely earned it. They outshot Dallas 31-4 in the second and third period. You can't argue, if you're a Dallas fan out there, you can't argue that Dallas deserved to win this game. You can argue that it sucks and you're heartbroken that they didn't, but you can't argue that they deserve to win this game because they didn't deserve to win this game. So the St. Louis Blues keep the hopes of teams that wear blue jerseys alive for Stanley Cup. And honestly, all comments aside and everything, and just taking the Dallas Stars out of the equation, which they were tonight, I wish St. Louis the best, and I think it would be great if St. Louis finally won a Stanley Cup. I think that would be a fantastic storyline. And if San Jose comes through with a win tomorrow night, that means we're guaranteed to have a Stanley Cup finalist in the West who's never won a Stanley Cup. And I love seeing first Stanley Cups awarded. It was a joy to see that for Ovechkin last year for the Capitals. It would be great to see that for the Blues, especially considering the season they've had, the upheaval they've had, and the amount of disrespect that gets thrown at the St. Louis Blues regularly. So it was a tense Game 7, but it was not a close Game 7. Ben Bishop gets this game to double overtime. So there you go. Am I a happy camper? No. Would I be expected to be? No. Not going to be jovial after this. I may have stomped a couple of times during this game, and I may have said damn it a couple of times too. In some of these things that I've got here on the board. I did manage to keep my writing legible, even while I was, why can't they complete a pass? But, you know, it was one of those games, and St. Louis never deviated from their game. This is something they did all season, and it has paid off in the playoffs, and now they move on and they wait for the winner of San Jose and Colorado. So congratulations to the Blues. I have no hard feelings. I can't say anything for other Dallas fans, but I don't hate the Blues. It's just not a thing. So there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video, and this game is proof that I can't have nice things. Thank you guys so much for all your support, and I'll talk to you again soon.